at Defender Adventures 1, everybody. Let me get you all set up here. We'll get right into tonight's topic. And it's something that I believe every UTV owner deals with at some point in time, and that is accessories or necessities and the money mistakes that we might make along the way in picking out which one of those is best for us. So if you've ever bought anything for your side-by-side and later on thought, yeah, I probably didn't need that, then that's kind of what we're going to get into. Or maybe if you've ever said, well, I should have bought this instead of that, well, you're in the right place. So let's dive into it just a little bit. Let me get you down there. Quit looking at the ceiling and get a beautiful view of old Yeller Feller sitting back there. She's been putting in some work. Keep watching the channel. There's a few episodes coming up of us out doing some work and a little bit of play. The weather here has been par for the season, and I've been enjoying it. We've got some snow. It has been a little chilly, but the old Inferno heater in Yeller Feller ain't had no issues. So anyways, let's go get in deeper into the topic that we're talking about tonight. Do have my notes here. Let's set the stage, right? These things are dangerous to your wallet. Not only are they big money up front when you buy them, they're a lot of coin. Are they worth it or not? Well, we've got into that in some other chats, but they are extremely expensive. And you buy the machine, and then suddenly you're not laying in bed scrolling TikToks at night. You're looking for buggy accessories, right? Manufacturers and aftermarket companies are really good at making us believe that every add-on is absolutely essential. But tonight, we'll kind of get into what you need and versus what you want. So sometimes that's where people mess up, and it can cost you. So what's a necessity, right? Necessity versus accessories. What is a necessity? There's things that either protect you personally inside the machine or protect your investment so it doesn't get tore up while you're out on the trail, or keep you from getting stranded while you're out on the trail. So let's talk about protection for your machine. One thing that doesn't come on all machines, some of them come with it factory built in, is like skid plates, right? The undercarriage of these machines take a beating. It takes some abuse, especially if you're in a more rocky terrain or say in the hills of West Virginia or somewhere like that. And if you don't have that undercarriage protected, a rock, stick, anything can get up in there and really do some damage and be an expensive repair. So that is definitely what I would consider a necessity. I don't run A-arm guards, but A-arm guards, another thing that I could see be helpful to keep those A-arms from getting bent up, keep anything from getting up into that axle and maybe damaging it. Windshield necessity. I mean, if you are in the colder climates, I believe blocking that wind would be down here where we ride. You can manage. It's definitely not comfortable, but I'm talking more like Nerf bars, rock sliders, things like that are going to protect the outside of your machine, front bumpers, rear bumpers. That stuff I would classify more of a necessity because it's saving you money in the long run, right? It's saving you from tearing up front bumper is going to save you from tearing up your radiator, which can cost big money, leave you stranded. Rear bumper, keep you from somebody or you backing into a tree or somebody running into you and damaging maybe your exhaust or just tearing up your tailgate or whatever it may be on the rear of your machine. But anyways, whether you ride rocks trails or anywhere that's kind of technical, protection should be an upgrade on your machine. I think it'll save you money in the long run. So let's talk about recovery and safety gear as a necessity. Winch, right? I believe a winch is a necessity on a side-by-side, especially if you find yourself out by yourself in the woods or out working with this machine and no other vehicles or buggies around. These things are extremely heavy. You're not going to, like the old ATVs, you're not going to get out of it and just shove it out by yourself. They're too heavy. You're going to need some help. So a winch, some good toe straps. Good to have some good toe straps with you. A snatch block, always good to have, because doesn't mean there's always a good anchorage point right in front of you to winch to. And sometimes your winch rope may not even be long enough, and you may need the extra length with the toe strap, or you need to pull at a different angle. So that stuff's always nice to have with you. Always nice to throw some basic tools in there with you. Find out what most of these machines, they're mostly metric size bolts, but they're all pretty common sizes on them. This thing, the front end's 15 or 17 millimeter, maybe a 13 here and there, but you keep those with you. Keep you a good set of screwdrivers, and always got to have zip ties, right? Duct tape, all that good stuff, to where you can pretty much patch anything or make a little repair there on the side of the trail. Need it be. Tire repair kit, always a necessity. That's another thing that is worth the money, is tire repair kit, and maybe even a small little air compressor, just in case you do have a problem when you're out in the trails. Always good to have with you. So let me go through my notes here. And third, reliability upgrades, right? So sometimes you buy these things for factory and the tires on it might not be necessarily suitable for the terrain you're riding. So tire upgrade does help a bunch. Always plan on having a spare belt with you on these machines, because that is your drive line, right? And more times than not, if something's going to go wrong, you're either going to smoke a belt or break a belt, and it's always nice to have one of those with you. And again, have the tools to take that belt cover off. They're not normally hard to change on the trail. They usually make them pretty accessible, but make sure you look up what belt removal tool that your machine needs. I have one in the toolbox for the Can-Am. It's a special tool to take that loosens it up so the belt comes off so you can pop the new one on. I do usually also carry a little bit of coolant with me, just in case you get some overheating problems sometimes. It's nice to have that with you to top off. Of course, if you got a beer can or a water bottle, you can go down to a creek somewhere, but you know what I'm getting at. So anyways, that's kind of some of the necessities that I see that you need to focus on spending some money on, as opposed to just getting all excited about slapping all these accessories. Now, obviously, if you have an unlimited budget, then I get it. But for us budget builders, or us penny pinchers, as you call it, or somebody that don't have endless resources to just throw stuff at these things, then I kind of try to prioritize where I sink my money into my machine. If you notice in the thumbnail, that is a picture of Yellerfeller when I first picked it up, and I did buy it used, but it didn't have the full cab and the different tires, and I did put all that money into that, but I didn't overlook the fact that I needed that belt removal tool. I needed an extra belt. needed a toolkit. Threw the toolbox in the back, needed that. Luckily, the XMR already came with the front bumper. It has rock sliders, so that protection stuff was already there. Did obviously buy a helmet for Hatfield to protect me inside the vehicle. Haven't went with the harness setup inside yet. Just has the factory seat belts. Something I've been kicking around the idea of, though. Sometimes we do take the Defender in some places that gets a little hairy, so maybe that extra protection of knowing that you're strapped in there a little bit better than maybe just a regular seatbelt. I don't know yet. Just something I've been kicking around, but that's kind of the necessities that we were talking that we wanted to get into. Now let's move on to accessories, right? Yeah, I know it's more exciting to talk about accessories than it is necessity. Here's old Green Gordon. What's up, buddy? Glad to see you back. Accessories is usually where people make the money mistakes, right? Normally that's where it comes into, yeah, that sounded good at the time, but maybe I necessarily could have took some of that money and put it into another accessory. My example, and I encourage you guys, if there is a accessory that you bought that you feel like maybe I shouldn't have spent the money on, or maybe it didn't turn out like I wanted, drop it in the comments. That way everybody knows. Mine is the Super ATV poly flip out windshield. Now, I'm not going to talk bad about the company or anything like that, because I do run a lot of Super ATV stuff, and I feel like they do have a lot of good products, and it's a big company. There's a lot to choose from. They have a lot of options for these Defenders, a lot of awesome options. But this windshield, I wish I just would have went with a glass windshield. I've done the video on the rough country power tip out. I wish that's what I would have went with. This poly windshield here, as you see, I've got the foam across the bottom. It doesn't seal up well, and the way you have to mount it to the dash with the handle, the riv nuts, they only fasten to a thin piece of plastic, and it wants to, it's not a hard fasten. You fasten the windshield and it still moves. It gets wind up underneath of it and it wants to pull out. It's just, I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying that for what I want, I wish I would have went a different option. I did put the little handheld, I think that's a Kimimoto handheld wiper thing in there, but it works good. But the poly, I've had it for, I don't know, it's been on there for probably over a year, and I know you can't tell in the video, but it's scratched up pretty good. Now, granted, a lot of that's probably my fault. I know you're not supposed to clean them with any cleaner and all that, but I mean, if you're going to want to see when you're out there, you're going to have to clean it with something. So I just clean it and go on. But anyways, keep tuned on the channel, because I would say eventually this is going to go and we'll have something else. Now the rear windshield is Super ATV sliding rear windshield, and it's poly, but it works very well, and it does let some air in during the summertime. You slide that thing open and it does a good job. So anyways, if there's an accessory that you guys think that you really wasted your money on, probably shouldn't have spent, drop it in the comments. That way everybody can know. Old Green Gordon says he's going to invest in some tracks and a plow. From where you're at, bud, I think that would be a good investment. We had some snow here, which you'll see in some upcoming videos. I think we ended up total snow accumulation around 6 inches, which I know that's nothing for you folks up north, but just the little bit that I have here in my driveway, a plow would have been nice. And I always say that once we get the snow, I'm like, man, I wish I had a plow. But I know, and when the sun's shining, you don't even think about it. So maybe that's something I'll invest in the future. But that too is an accessory, right? Not necessarily a necessity. I guess you could get out there and shovel like I do, but it ain't no fun. Especially with the driveway old Green says he has. I wouldn't be out there shoveling all that. I think a plow yeah, you should look into that, bud. So what's some common accessory splurges? Uh, Massive light bars, right? The um, lighting on these things, well, especially a Defender. First of all, I like to talk to old Can-Am why we don't get LEDs. Which does the 11 have LEDs? I think the 11 might. Yeah, that might be enough. I think they did upgrade to LEDs, but the old 10s come with the old halogen bulbs that, I mean, yeah, they suit the purpose, I guess, but they don't light up very well. Of course, I've updated these to the BeamTech HD H11s or H9s, H11s. But as far as light bars, I do have one here, but some people get carried away with that stuff. I think I look like a UFO coming down through the woods. I think that's just a little excessive, and maybe, now if you got the money to spend on it, right, that's fine. To each their own. But for the penny pincher, let's say, all them lights ain't really necessary. And how about stereo systems, right? I got a sound bar in here, hooks to my phone. Play some music going down the road. I did put a sub under the seat. Is that excessive? Absolutely. But it didn't cost a whole lot. And the wires were already there on the light bar, so it wasn't hard to hook up. Didn't cost a whole lot of money. So, and I don't really use it that often, but it's there if I need it. So, but some people, man, just like the JL audio roofs, yeah, them things are nice. But from what I read, a lot of people say that they don't even really work that well. The sound quality is not as good as for what you pay for it. So that would be something that maybe a lot of people would be like, well, maybe I shouldn't have spent that kind of money on that. Could have put that money towards something a little more useful. Custom seats, suspension upgrades. The seats, if you're going to ride this thing, you know, like a car and drive it all day, every day, I understand that, but those two are maybe an upgrade that could wait, you know. Or the suspension upgrades. I would love to have suspension upgrade on this thing, but the price that they want for shocks and springs and A-arms and all that is, in my opinion, it's expensive. Now, granted, I don't know what it costs to make this stuff. I'm assuming that's why the price is so high. But so I'm not giving anybody crap for how much they charge. I'm just saying it is a lot of money. So that's one upgrade that I just deal with the old factory suspension. Now I might change these springs out to some S3 springs, but I ain't going full shock and all that. I wish Can-Am, even on the HD11s, would give us a better shock up front, because they do it on the Maverick Sports. Obviously on the X3s, I mean, why can't we slap a good shock and spring on the Defender? But anyways, that's not what we're talking about, I don't guess. Fancy wheels, fancy tires, you know, we've been there, done that. The tires could be a necessity, especially depending on where you live. The fancy wheels obviously ain't needed. The factory ones can run just fine. I just went with aftermarket wheel because I went with a different offset to give me a wider stance, and that is a cheaper way than buying a long travel kit. Obviously, the long travel kit is an accessory that is very expensive, looks awesome, but I achieved what I wanted to achieve just with an offset wheel. So anyways, so let's talk about some mistakes that maybe I see some people making, and that's buying the ATV. You go buy it, brand new, showroom floor, buy it, and then you throw thousands of dollars of accessories on this thing before you even ride it, especially if you've never owned one before, right? You don't know it. You don't know how it feels. You don't know the terrain you're going to ride. You don't know how you're going to ride. You don't know the weak points of the machine. So you might be throwing a bunch of money at it and accessories, and it's not really helping protect the machine or protect your investment. Some people put all the money into looks, right? They want it to look good sitting in the driveway, not necessarily be a benefit on the trail or even say working in the woods. Um, Good looking wheels don't really help you out when you get stuck, right? Or lights, all the lights in the world don't really matter if you broke an axle, drive shaft, whatever, right? So sometimes before dumping all that money into them accessories, you ought to dump some money into spare parts, because we all know on the trail, these things take a beating. And there is times that you can't avoid maybe breaking an axle, or, cutting a tire, or sometimes drive shafts let go. So having that stuff, additional parts with you on the trail, is more beneficial than having all the fancy accessories that ain't going to help you get back to the trailer. Um, so that's kind of where I wanted to go with that. And then another mistake is one that I probably make myself quite often, and that's buying cheap, right? So sometimes when you buy cheap, you get what you pay for. And I'm kind of guilty of it, I ain't gonna lie, but a lot of that is because I don't like this thing setting. So yeah, I run Cayman axles. Those things cost me $100, right? $100, slap one in, we're back on the trail. A Rhino or some of the other big name brands, thicker, heavy duty axles cost 3 or 4 times that amount. And that is something that, yeah, I won't have to wait to do. So here my buggy set's broke, and then I'll wait until I get one of them in, and then slap it in. And next thing you know, I take it on another ride, the other weak axle, the other weak point breaks, right? So if I can get some life out of these Caymans, if I can ride it for a while, and the riding I do with this thing is not like I'm double black diamond everywhere that I go. More times than not, it's around home, easy trails, just putting in some work, maybe pulling some logs out of the woods, or cutting firewood, whatever. So it's not like I'm putting them to the test 24/7. And even when we go on rides, 90% of the time we're on easier trails. I do like to test the Defender every once in a while and put her on some black trails. And when I do that, I know there's a chance that something's going to break. So I do have extra components with me. So that's not a bad thing to have. But like I say, sometimes buying cheap hurts you, but I get it that it gets you back out and riding. So if you can afford it, buy the better parts. Usually they definitely hold up a little bit better, but you'll have that. And then the last kind of major point I want to get into is ignoring maintenance, right? I believe that maintenance on these machines is what keeps the life of them. If you're changing your oil regularly, if you're doing your diffs regularly, greasing your A-arms, keeping this thing up to date on the maintenance, it's going to last you longer. It's been proven. I've had plenty of these machines, and I keep the maintenance up on them, and it's really rewarded me. I've known other people that have rode them and just rode them without basically either changing oil or anything like that, and they break on them, then they want to blame the company or tell them or say that they're junk. Well, it's not that the machine's junk, it's that you didn't take care of it, right? And I even like, as much as I can, I like keeping this thing clean. You keep the mud out of it, keep it all from being packed up in there. I know it's hard in the winter months because of the weather and water lines freeze, I get that. But the more I believe that you take care of the machine, it will take care of you. And I do believe that. So anyways, old Green says his never going to break. Yeah. Hey, hopefully old Yeller Feller doesn't either, because it sure does get expensive. But I will say the Defenders, from what I've experienced, is a good machine. It does take a beating. And hey, hopefully you stay up with the maintenance on it. Maybe it will never break. So how do you decide accessory or necessity? When you're looking to buy something, ask yourself these 3 questions, right? Does it protect me or the machine? Does this help me keep riding? And will whatever I'm spending this money on still matter a year from now? If the answer is no to all those 3 questions, it's probably just a want, right? Probably not a necessity. So I appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate y'all following along. What accessory did you regret buying? Drop it in the comments. And what's one thing, how about let's flip the script. What's one thing that you bought that you absolutely think that you couldn't live without? And if K&M would offer it from factory, it would help them sell more machines, because it is one thing that is just absolutely amazing. So at the end of the day, accessories ain't bad. I'm not trying to say that. Hobbies are supposed to be fun. You know, when you go to that dealership and go to buy one of these units, it is very exciting. And it's like, you know, a kid at Christmas with the season upon us and Christmas coming up. It's how you feel when you're in that dealership, you know, and you're ready to buy something and you're looking at all the shiny stuff and you just want to add this and add that. And then after you buy it and then you get the interweb and you were looking at accessories and you're looking at other people's buggies. Oh man, I like that. I like that. So just know though that there is some things that maybe you ought to buy first. So hope this video helped you out. If it did, do me a favor, hit the like button. Keep subscribing. We do these lives every Tuesday at 5. Green says that he can use a tracks and plows all year long. And so I think, bud, something you maybe ought to look into purchasing. So, like I say, tune back in next week. We'll catch you on the next one. Ride safe, spend smart. Maybe I'll see you on the trail. We'll catch you on the next one. Appreciate you, sir.